these NBA guys without just having to foul every time or give up layups and dunks. They can actually force Duke to hit threes, where I think they rank 240th in three-point percentage. They only shoot 32% from three. And so if they're cold, which they were against Gonzaga, that's going to be a chance to beat them, right? It's in one game, the variance is super high.
Whether you had a good weekend or a bad one, the one thing we all can't wait to find out is what the numbers look like for next week. Well, wait no longer, because we have them for you. Time to close the door on this week, and let's take a look ahead to next on the Opening Line Show.
Welcome in, Vegas Stats and Information Network, live at the South Point Hotel and Casino. It's the Opening Line Show. Kenny White, Sam Panayotovich. We'll get to Matt Youmans momentarily down at the Westgate Superbook, and John Murray, Superbook Director, will join the show in the next half hour. But Kenny, this number already on the move. It opened up pretty much at a pick, and I'm looking at a lot of these screens here, and the number tells a different story right now. No longer a pick at a lot of places.
This is really what have you seen lately?
Yep.
This is so amazing that people just watched the Patriots and what they did in the fourth quarter, and they're blindly betting the Patriots because that's the last thing they can remember is the Patriots winning against the Chiefs at the Chiefs.
And you just gave a number about the ticket percentage and what it is already?
80% on New England. They can't remember the Rams just beat the Saints in the Dome, and the Rams offense couldn't hear all game. They couldn't hear a thing. I never saw Brady do that one time. The Patriots had no problem hearing the coaches, hearing the plays, and calling audibles all day long. But I'm amazed. But this is a classic case of it. What have you seen last? What do you remember last? Everyone remembers the Patriots beating the Chiefs.
Let's go down to the Westgate Superbook. We'll go live. Matt Youmans from VSiN and John Murray, Westgate Superbook Sportsbook Director. Gentlemen, before we get to the reaction on what we saw today, let's react, John, to the number. You guys posted something, and it's already moved. Take us through what you put up and where it is now.
Yeah, we put up the Rams -1. We're at Patriots -1.5 right now. My guess is we'll probably be at 2.5 by tomorrow morning.
And our total, Matt Youmans, already at 59. I see a couple shops in Vegas, 59.5.
I was a little bit surprised they opened the Rams -1 here. And whether or not what you believe the number should be, what are people going to bet? And I think most people are going to bet Tom Brady after what they saw. We heard all season, I believe it's true, the Chiefs are a more talented team. The Patriots just went into Kansas City and knocked off the Chiefs. I think it's tough to bet against Tom Brady in a case like this. Are you going to back? It's not as simple as Jared Goff against Tom Brady, but how much faith do you have that Goff is going to beat Brady in a Super Bowl? And I think that's the way people are going to bet this game. You just saw the Patriots pull off the upset on the road. You're afraid to bet against Brady again. And that's why I thought the Patriots should have opened as favorites. John, what was the debate like in the back room when you guys were talking about what the opening number should be?
There wasn't a whole lot of conversation. We talked about pick'em. Some of the guys were pushing for Rams 1. We opened at Rams 1, as you guys know. Money came in right away in New England. We went to pick'em. More money came. We went to -1. More money came. Obviously, I'm not at the desk right now. My guess is people are betting on New England right now. I mean, we're going to need the Rams huge by the time this game kicks off in 2 weeks.
You said by tomorrow the number could be 2.5.
I will probably be.
What is this? Just an avalanche of public money, or you're getting some sharp plays on the Patriots?
I think it's just people are seeing some of the offshore books open a little bit higher, so they're betting on New England. I saw right when I walked out the door, I saw an offshore book put up 2.5.
Really?
So I think that's why I think we'll probably be at 2.5 by the time we open up.
Let me get back to the opening number quickly. Why did you guys believe Rams -1 was the right number?
We think the Rams are better than New England, but I mean, you just said it. I mean, Kansas City's better than New England, and they still lost. So it doesn't. I mean, in a one-game scenario, obviously anything can happen, but we do think the Rams are a better team than the Patriots are. That doesn't mean they're going to win, because if they are better, they're better by a very slim margin.
Seeing twos now, Kenny. 2 at the South Point, 2 at the Golden Nugget, 2 at William Hill, 2 at Stations. The avalanche continues. I've
seen a couple 2.5s pop up at a big global joint, and it's gone back to 2 both times. But it keeps going to 2.5. So I think you're right. I would have loved to have seen how this could have turned differently if the Chiefs and New England would have been the first game, and the Rams and the Saints would have been the second game. I'm just amazed. I guess it is Brady and Belichick, but. See, my opinion is, and my power ratings, and I've got a couple sets of them on strength of these teams, I had New England better than Kansas City. I had 1 point better edge with New England over KC. But I had the Rams 3 over New England. Solid 3. And I saw nothing today to change that. I think the Rams defense is far superior to what Kansas City put on the field. And I think that's going to be the difference in the game because they're going to have no problem scoring against the Patriots. No problem. This total is going to go to 60-61, I think.
That's something.
That's another thing we should talk about here. The total opened 58. I think it's up to 59. John, do you expect it's going to be the public's going to want to play this over?
Oh, the public will definitely play it over. I mean, you're probably going to see some wise guys going under the total. It kind of reminds me of the Falcons Patriots 2 years ago. That total was right around this neighborhood, Matt. I actually had a bet on under 60 that game, and they scored the 62nd point in overtime. That was no, I think it's going to be. That was a fun one. I think it's going to be a thing where the sharper players are all over the under, but there's going to be a ton of public money on the over for sure. I think Kenny's right. I wouldn't be surprised to see this total push up a little bit.
Could this be a Super Bowl where you have the public? I don't want to say this is a sharps versus squares battleground game, but could it be a case where the public is on the Pats and the over, and the sharps are on the Rams and the under?
You know what it reminds me of a little bit is the Denver-Seattle Super Bowl, when the public was just all over Denver, pushed Denver up to favorite. Even though I think we all agreed that Seattle was probably better than Denver. Like, I agree with what Kenny was just saying. I think the Rams are better than New England is. I think that they deserve to be favored. That doesn't mean that they're going to win in a one-game scenario, but I do think the Rams are better. We're going to need the Rams really big in this game, I think, and I'm okay with that.
Johnny, how about the futures and what this did for the liability and for the shop at the book there? Saints and Chiefs both get 86. What did that do?
Actually, you know what? We're in a really good spot, Sammy. Ed Salmons did an outstanding job with our NFL future book, and we're in a really good position on New England and a very good position as well on the Rams. It's slightly better on New England, but it's very good on both teams.
Which game do you want to start bashing the officials on, Youmans? AFC or NFC? I mean, you could start wherever you really want. I thought that Patriots game with all the overturned calls for New England, and then obviously the PI call that the Saints never got, NFC style.
That's true, but let's go back to the NFC game first because that's the biggest controversy. And yes, Sean Payton made some mistakes. The Saints made mistakes, no doubt, but so did the Rams. And if the flag is thrown on that play, as it should have been, the Saints are going to win that game. So that's all that matters when you go back and recap what happened, John, is yes, the Saints made mistakes. That doesn't mean they deserve to lose the game. They deserve to win the game because if that flag's thrown, they got the ball inside the 5, basically going to run out the clock and win the game.
I thought New England got a couple whistles to go their way, but I don't think that's why they won. The Rams won directly because of that no call. If they call pass interference there, and I think everyone unanimously agrees that was pass interference, the Saints can essentially run the clock out and kick a field goal with 15 seconds left, and it's the Saints that are in the Super Bowl. That's got to be one of the worst officiating decisions in the history of sports when you factor in the magnitude of the game. I mean, it literally determined which team was going to be playing in the Super Bowl.
How many BS PI calls we've seen throughout the course of the season? And you get something at that moment that's so obvious, everybody sees it, and it's not called. I mean, it's inexcusable. It's incompetent officiating. I've said this 100 times. Gambling is not the biggest threat to the integrity of the games, as Roger Goodell says over and over and over. Incompetent officiating is the biggest threat to the integrity of the games.
Roger Goodell should be happy that we have sports betting and fantasy football, guys. That's all I can say about the product of this league.
And there's something to be said, too. Last year, it was my Saints future. Minneapolis miracled. That's how I lost my Saints future this year. And there are some of these people on the show had Saints futures this year, and that is that's a tough parlay 2 years in a row for the Saints.
That's tough to take. I mean, if you go into the offseason, if you're Drew Brees or you're Sean Payton, I mean, how sick are you right now? You're very bitter about the officiating, but you've had 2 bad breaks here in big playoff games. And it's tough. I think it's tough to be resilient and bounce back from things like that. You have some time to cool off and recover and regroup, but I'm not sure if we're going to see the Saints in a position like this. Drew Brees might have one more crack at it. John, you talked about his arm. The more I watch him, I'm not sure he's got 1 or 2 more years left.
I mean, the last time we saw something like this was really the Tuck Rule game in 2001. And the Raiders did regroup, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl the next season. Yeah. It is possible that the Saints could do the same thing. I actually think that as bad as the Tuck Rule call was, I thought today's call was even worse. I would go so far as to say much worse.
That's a bold statement.
I don't even think it was a question that it was pass interference, whereas the Tuck Rule was just a rule that was written poorly by the NFL.
Not only PI, you also had a helmet-to-helmet hit. There were 2 things you could have called on that play.
The Tuck Rule is just a bad written rule. today's call was just an egregious, or today's non-call, I should say.
I mean, okay, does this go into, I ask you, and Kenny White can respond to this as well, does this go into when you're making a Super Bowl line? That's what I was thinking about. A lot of people are going to look at the Rams and say, hey, they're lucky to be in this game. They didn't deserve to win. And I don't want to bet against Tom Brady. And that's why I thought the Patriots would open as favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. I think a lot of people are going to be saying that all the Rams don't deserve to be here. And they don't, actually, in my opinion, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
They are here, and I do think that they're better than New England. But I thought Kansas City was better than New England, and they didn't win today. So
now,
I was talking about the way people bet. The way people bet, is that they watched the Rams and they saw they were fortunate. Kenny was just talking about people, react to what they saw most recently. You saw the Rams get lucky to win a game they probably didn't deserve to win. You see Tom Brady again went on the road as an underdog, Kenny, when a lot of sharp bettors didn't think he was going to do it, didn't think the Patriots were talented enough to beat the Chiefs.
Kenny, it's a fine line, though, because I do think if Kansas City had won that coin toss, we'd be sitting here talking about a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl.
We could be.
I mean, whoever won that coin toss was probably going to go down the field and score a touchdown there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Kansas City's offense finally figured out the Patriot defense in the second half, and you're right. I made that total 6 points higher. Kansas City and the Rams, I actually made that one 64. And I thought that's where that number should have been priced. And that would have been interesting. But guys, what is the league going to do? They're going to publicly announce there was an error on that non-call. Obviously, it was pass interference, and they're going to try to fix this moving forward. How are we going to have to replay every play? These games took so long today. I know we just want to get it right, but 4.5 hour games it's just not going to cut it.
I agree with that.
I mean, if you're the Saints, does that make you feel any better whatsoever that the league is going to admit an officiating error in one of the biggest games you've ever played in franchise history? No, that doesn't make you feel one bit better. It ticks you off even more. I think we're all fed up with the incompetence of the officiating in the NFL. We do it week after week after week. We go through this, John.
I think it's funny that there was all this talk about Bill Vinovich being so bad for the Rams.
Right.
I think they'd lost their last 8 Vinovich games, and then the Rams end up in the Super Bowl largely because of a disastrous non-call by the officials. Sort of ironic.
I love the statement, though. You're right, Kenny, from the league. Yeah, we got it wrong, but yeah, whatever. It's pretty
the
much
NFC Championship game, Sammy. No big deal.
It's only Championship Sunday,
right.
And we look up in the fourth quarter, and both games are decided by zebras again.
Hey, I'm going to throw this out to you guys, too. Rufus Peabody's over here in the box at the Westgate, and I asked him to do the math on a prop. If both championship games would go into overtime, what would the true math be on that? And he said 200-1. So we had both games go to OT today. John, have you considered putting up a parlay like that? Or
all I got to say,
like that?
I have to say that I'm glad that you asked Rufus Peabody that instead of me, Matt.
You couldn't do the math on it?
It would have taken me longer than Rufus, but I think I could have gotten it done.
Rufus figured out the math in about 60 seconds. You
have your stopwatch out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, we have a calculator named Kenny White on the set who can offer some help on this one. Because you asked that earlier. You said, when was the last time they both went to overtime? And we couldn't find a date. But what would the probability of that?
Well, I thought that's the true odds, 200-1. The most you're going to get from a book, you're probably going to get minus $12 plus $8. So 8 times 8, 64-1.
Yeah, John, you guys wouldn't be hanging 200-1.
Oh, no, it would be even less than what Kenny is saying. I mean, that's a one-way number. You're not going to write anything on the no if you had a yes-no prop like that. So the yes price would actually come even lower than that because all you're going to do is take yes bets.
That's John Murray, Matt Youmans, live at the Westgate Superbook. Kenny White, Sam Panayotovich here at VSiN. The lines are still moving. We'll get you up to speed next and also have this conversation. How does the prop process work out for Super Bowls? We'll have that conversation next here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
James Salinas, who's a friend of VSiN, who won the Super Contest, who finished in 3rd place, who finished in 26th place 2 years later. So just an amazing run and undeniably a great, if not the greatest of all time in terms of contest players. James texted me about a week and a half ago, just randomly. He was like, hey, Gilly, you heard about this DraftKings contest? Like, it really sounds interesting. And immediately when I heard it was Salinas, I shot him back a text and I said, yeah, you don't want to play this. This is a whole scam. You don't want to play this at all. I hear you got to clear it with New Jersey Gaming. So that was the first thing was, how do I eliminate any competition?
17 in a row. So it's San Jose, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Columbus.
Columbus, another one, yep.
It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And they're playing Calgary tonight, too, who's a freight train. They don't lose. Knights are on fire, and they can't get any ground.
It's the best bet going on anywhere right now in sports.
It's two teams have hit at least 15 in a row.
At one point,
the Blackhawks had 15 in a row.
Yep.
Tampa's hit 17 in a row.
The Lightning said, hold on, 15?
Look at the Tampa Bay scores.
Yep.
They've only lost, but, I mean, look at their scores.
The notion that people sort of haphazardly throw out like, oh, those games even out. Like the one-score things, oh, those games even out. I do not agree with that. I believe that if you are a successful bettor, those games do not even out for you.
Wow, interesting. Why?
Because you are more likely to, when you win very comfortably. And when you lose, you are more likely, if you're good at this, to lose a close
Interesting.
outcome.
Okay.
And so I don't think that the close outcomes even out.
But it's funny how these point spreads and these totals really mirror what you see if you're a subscriber at KenPom.
Yeah, absolutely. If you, I was mentioning off air, but just a few years ago, say a decade ago, if you had access to KenPom numbers, you could regularly beat the market and win against the spread betting college basketball just using KenPom numbers versus what the odds makers are actually opening lines and totals at. Now they're basically copying KenPom. So in order to beat college basketball, you have to be able to beat KenPom numbers, which is a pretty tall task
Very
generally.
tough, yeah.
Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
We're getting ready. Super Bowl 53, 2 weeks away, and VSiN has more than 24 hours of coverage. The lineup for game day already locked in. Betting across America. JVT, Michael Lombardi will kick things off right here in Las Vegas on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific. And then you have Mitch Moss, Paul Howard, Gil Alexander, myself, Amal Shaw. We will carry Betting Across America through the Big Game pregame show, which is a special edition of My Guys in the Desert. Brett Musburger, Vinny Maiulo, surprises along the way. Ron Flatter will be on the desk. I'll be downtown with Derek Stevens and Mike Palm. And that's only the pregame. Then we've got the Big Game Betcast with Matt Youmans and Matthew Holt. They'll have the in-game betting coverage with help from Tim Fitzgerald from the South Point. We'll also track all the prop bets throughout the game. Halftime, Brent, Mitch, Paul, and Gil. And then the post-game show will wrap up 2019 and look ahead to next season in the National Football League. 24 hours of pregame, in-game, and post-game. Super Bowl weekend with VSiN. We will change the way you watch the game. Kenny White, Sam Panayotovich here at the South Point. We'll go down to the Westgate in just a second and re-bring in Matt Youmans and John Murray. But Kenny, I'm looking at the market here. Caesars 1.5, South Point 2, Westgate 1.5. Will Hill, Golden Nugget have 2. Coast and Stations have 2. The Patriots favored across the board now in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and it looks to me like that's going to be the number. New England minus 1.5 right now. I think that looks like the market number. It's settled down a little bit. Went to as high as I saw some 2.5s, and it's come back down. So that might be the threshold, and we'll see where it goes from there. Though a lot of money on the Patriots tonight.
Let me ask you, and then I'll ask John and Matt. If you're looking to bet the Patriots, do you strike now? If you're looking to bet the Rams, do you wait? How do you approach both sides of this right now?
And I hit early already because I trust my numbers and making the Rams 3, and I just think they're the better football team. When it got to pick, I laid the pick and went over 58 because I think the total's a little too low. There's not going to be any crowd noise that affects offenses. The crowd noise affected the Rams offense today, and the crowd noise affected the Patriots offense today, and they still put up points. So this one's going to be back and forth. When one team scores, the other team will have to. But right now at this point, if you like the Rams, I say wait. There's no reason that you need to take anything. There could be more Patriot money tomorrow. I mean, this is not an overreaction that's just going to happen now. I think this overreaction could happen all week, that people could be reacting to the New England Patriots.
Matt Youmans, John Murray, live at the Westgate. Guys, how would you respond to that question? Bet now or wait? How would you approach this game?
Well, ideally, you would have taken the Patriots +1 and then wait to take the Rams +3. I think that's probably the way you would have wanted to play it. I was surprised when the Patriots opened as underdogs. I didn't think that was going to hold. But, yeah, if you like the Rams, like Kenny said, I think you sit back And you wait a little bit to see where this number goes. At some point, John, do you think it's going to touch 3? Because I wouldn't be shocked to see a 3 pop up at some point in the next couple weeks.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some variation of 3. I think the books are all going to be pretty stuck on New England. And no, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a variation of 3. The bettors always like to push these NFL games to that number of 3 one way or another. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if you could bet LA plus 3, maybe not minus 110. But some variation of plus 3.
Let me ask you this about the money line on the games. It's so cheap. Might this hurt the Super Bowl handle a little bit? That you're not going to get a lot of money line bets because you don't really have that juicy money line price out there for underdog players to jump on.
It might hurt the handle in the sense that if there was a bigger favorite, you'd get a lot of large bets.
Right.
Guys like the first time New England played the Giants in the Super Bowl, there were some huge bets on Patriots money line because you had to bet so much to win anything decent. Other than that, I don't see it having huge impact on the handle. I think the handle will be even better than it was last year. Last year we did a record 158 million, and I think with these two teams, Boston and Los Angeles, very high total, high prop numbers. I think this sets up to be a very good handle game for Nevada.
So we've touched on the side and the total. Your consensus line right now, Patriots minus about 1.5, and the consensus total now 58.5. It was 59.5, but at this point, 58.5. We'll have the prop conversation. And Kenny, when you were at LVSC, the Las Vegas Sports Consultants, you guys were very quick to start making the props. How did that process go, and when were these props posted?
Yeah, Dan O'Brien was our prop guy, and Dan worked relentlessly around the clock. Right now, he would be working on them. He would probably put out about 50 props tonight, and then he would start putting out the props the next morning, and he would build that up. And Dan usually put out about around 300, 350 props, which was good for the books that they were able to bounce their numbers, off of those numbers. It's always good to have a couple different opinions, and then you would see the Westgate go up on Thursday with over 400 props. And there would be so many different variations of the numbers you would see from what we put out to what was in the market.
John Murray, how does the prop process work at the Westgate? What's the situation?
We're going to start in on that on Tuesday in terms of actually making the numbers, Sammy. Tuesday and Wednesday, got a team of about 4 or 5 guys that provide numbers, and then the final call usually Ed Salmons will make. He's such an NFL expert, as you and Matt know, and he's a prop superstar on those Super Bowl props. So Ed will have most of the final call.
You really hype up Ed Salmons.
He's an NFL expert.
NFL expert. So you guys gather. How does this work? Do you gather at Ed's house on Tuesday and Wednesday to crunch these numbers?
Tuesday and Wednesday will be at Ed's house, and we'll go around and have these conversations that are always about the Patriots, I guess, and we'll make these numbers. I mean, we've got a lot of data on the Pats, Matt. That should help.
You definitely do.
And we'll go through those numbers. We'll iron them all out, and we'll turn them on for betting Thursday at 7 p.m. here at the Superbook at the Westgate.
Thursday at 7. Lower the Gronk numbers from recent years, right? It's going to be a little bit less.
Well, Gronk made some good plays. I mean, I don't think I know he's nothing compared to the player he used to be.
Right.
He certainly made some.
Last week you called him a corpse on the show.
He looked like a corpse last week, but he made some good plays. Good plays today. I thought there was that one throw down the sideline that Romo actually said was coming.
Romo did a great job of calling out the plays before they happened. So Tuesday and Wednesday, it's all guys over at Ed's house. You guys are just crunching numbers, talking props?
Crunching numbers and haggling over 5-10 cents here and there and a yard here and there. And then Thursday is the key day, though. Thursday, we turn the betting on for everybody.
77, no, 78, no, 79.
It goes more like this, Sammy. Like the first few hours, it's like fighting over every cent. And then by the end of it, it's just like,
who cares?
Whatever.
Who cares?
Sammy, I think we should send some girls over there for entertainment. They might need it.
Sounds distracting, Matt. And it's a very professional atmosphere.
You got to focus.
Exactly.
Focus on the prop numbers. Okay.
Well, you'd never be able to distract Jeff Sherman. He's razor focused, guys. He would do an outstanding job no matter who was around him.
Kenny, what's the toughest part about the prop game and making the props and setting the props?
There's not really a tough part. It's just numbers. I mean, you're coming up with numbers. You're going through the basketball games. The toughest part I'm looking at is the schedule on Sunday. There's only 3 NBA games, and the most high-profile team is the Celtics. There'll be a lot of props to that. There's only 3 NHL games, and the college basketball schedule is minimal. But you got the best prop guy in the world over there at the Hilton right now, and that's Rufus Peabody. There's nobody better than him at those numbers. I mean, that's the guy that's razor sharp.
I would think, Johnny, you guys will have some creativity creativity because I think the Golden Knights play on that Saturday. So I'm sure you could have some things set between, Marc-Andre Fleury saves and so many guys rushing. I mean, you can get so creative here. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of cross-sport stuff, Sammy. Soccer games from that weekend. You touched on the Golden Knights, of course. NBA games, golf. Jeff Sherman's known for cross sports involving golf. We'll get very creative here, and the high total certainly lends itself to a lot of a great volume of prop betting from the general public.
I went back and read last year's story. Jay Kornegay said you guys got crushed on props last year, which typically happens when you have high-scoring games, right?
Yeah, I mean, that game had literally the most yardage of any NFL game in the history of the NFL, not just the Super Bowl. And I think we had 6 guys listed for a yes-no touchdown that scored a touchdown. So certainly a very bad outcome for us on props. And we want the Super Bowl to be like the Denver-Carolina game, Matt. You guys remember that game? Nothing happened in that game. That was awesome for us. Some prop bets, guys.
So, John, do you shade up some of these props a little bit to the over, or are you looking to shade yardage props?
I think we'll have to this year, Kenny. I mean, after what happened last year, just with the way the NFL is going now, where they allow so much in terms of all these pick plays and rub plays. They allow so much of that. They make it so hard on the defense. You've got to adjust, and you've got to get with the times.
Guys, we got about 90 seconds left to go. Matt Youmans, John Murray, live at the Westgate. Are we satisfied as bettors? Are we satisfied with the way the weekend went, with the championship game, with the way these games ended, or not?
I would have been much happier if the Saints won by 3. I had the Saints at 18-1 to win the Super Bowl, and I bet the Rams plus 3.5 today. So I had to hedge in that case. If the Saints win by 3, it's a perfect outcome for me. But no, I'm okay with it. I mean, that happens. I mean, rarely are you going to cash a Super Bowl futures bet.
Johnny, how about the house? Yeah, what'd the house do today?
We had a good day today overall, guys. We were in a great position on both the AFC and NFC future books. It could have been better. It would have been better for us if New Orleans had won. They deserved to win. I don't think anybody that had New Orleans or rooted for New Orleans could be satisfied with today. The second game was a great game. Both teams had a lot of chances to win. I think I said this to Jay Kornegay as we were watching the game in his office, whoever wins this coin toss is going to go down the field and score a touchdown. I think if Kansas City wins that coin toss, it's Kansas City and the Rams. It went New England's way. Now New England's in the Super Bowl.
You're like Nostradamus.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, I mean, I don't know how you can be satisfied with that first game.
No.
Unless you were rooting for the Rams. I don't know how you could come away with that satisfied. That was ridiculous.
That's John Murray, Matt Youmans, live at the Westgate. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, guys.
For Kenny White, I'm Sam Panayotovich. Again, last check at the market. You're looking at the New England Patriots favored in the Super Bowl against the LA Rams by 1.5 or 2, and the total 58. Mitch and Paul back tomorrow, bright and early.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
You didn't catch VSiN last week. Here's some of what you missed.
2004, I almost won the Super Contest Classic, my first year in it.
Okay.
And I missed it by a field goal. I think I had the Jets, and they missed their field goal in overtime, and the Rams got theirs. And so I went from